Welcome back to the Mid-Atlantic Sports Report here on MASN. Buck Showalter talking about Chris Davis just last week at the Pathfinders for Autism Leadership Conference. He says, I love Chris, but if that decision makes or breaks our team, shame on us, according to the Baltimore Sun, quoting Buck Showalter. And speaking of Buck Showalter, we welcome him to the Mid-Atlantic Sports Report. Buck, we appreciate you taking some time to be with us. My lead question would be, were you ever in any doubt that Chris Davis would return?
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure there was. We had made a lot of plans, some of them few years ago when we drafted Christian Walker and Trey Mancini. So, you've got to always be on top of the what-ifs. Obviously, our owner played a big role in it. He stepped out as he has every time we were in need of something. And I felt confident that there was a deal to be made that Mr. Angelos would be able to make it. And, it's whatever his comfort level is. And, I met with him a day or so before they finalized it. And, my job is to manage the people we have, and I thought we were going to be competitive. And Chris obviously gives us, a better chance. We'll see how the physicals go on Wednesday and Thursday, and hopefully we'll be having a press conference Thursday or Friday.
Buck, how important is it for you to kind of, the comments that you made, we talked about how you were quoted as saying, look, if you don't get Davis signed and because he wants to go somewhere else, then, shame on the organization if it makes or breaks. How important is it for you to throw that out there, or, basically to kind of, if nothing else, prepare everybody, but also let them know how you feel about it?
Well, they already knew. If I had to wait for something like that, but, that was just the first time somebody really asked me about it. And the same way everybody feels. Everybody hopes Chris comes back, and we hope that his teammates, the coaches, the fans. But, he had a decision to make, and I felt when push came to shove, if it was close, that Chris doesn't want to start over. He's got a lot of loyalty to people that helped put himself on the map, and he also, most importantly, got some unfinished business in Baltimore. These guys, if you had told me at the end of the year that we were going to end up with Matt Wieters and of course, Chris back, I'd been not surprised, but I'd have been happy about that. Not to mention Darren O'Day at all. So, the support that we've gotten has been great, and now it's about the business of trying to finish out this roster and try to compete with clubs that are making some of the same improvements we are. We didn't have Jonathan Scope a whole lot last year. We didn't have Matt Wieters a whole lot last year. So, Chris missed some time, and of course J.J. Hardy missed a lot of time. So, we've got to make our pitchers revert back to the form they had in 14, so we know it's there. And, I know Dan and I talk every day. There's a lot of things going on right now that we'll continue to try to improve the club. But, my focus, like we had the mini camp down in Sarasota, is making what we have better. A lot of people didn't know who Michael Gibbons was this time last year. Kevin Gosman is ready to be turned loose. So, I'm excited about where we are, and I'm excited about flying up to Baltimore for a press conference.
Buck, how has Chris Davis improved as a hitter since he came from Texas to the Orioles in that trade?
It's funny, I talked to Scott Coolbaugh, hitting coach, a few days ago right after Chris had committed, and I said, have you heard from Chris? He goes, well, I've been hitting with him for 3 or 4 days a week for quite a while now. Very under the radar. I think Scott had something to do with it, I should say. They have a great relationship, and I think Chris knows who he is, knows who he isn't. There's ways to improve. He knows that, and he's always trying to not only maintain. He doesn't like striking out 200 times, and he's planning on not doing that this year. I like how the walk totals have gone up, and he wants to have that type of year where he doesn't kind of disappear for a little while. But we got to do as good a job as possible putting people on base in front of him too. So. I just like the way he cares about his weaknesses. That's where he's really, I won't say improved, but stays diligent. He works hard on his defense. He wants to score from second on a single and first on a double. Hey, I need you to play right field tonight. Hey, fine, let's go. That's what his teammates are talking about. They may be behind the scenes a little bit. There's a lot of people pulling on Chris's time, and even more so now. But it's just like I told Darren, and the same thing I'm going to tell Chris is I don't want you to be trying to be more and try to hit a ball 700 feet instead of 400 feet. That's the challenge that we have to help him with.
Buck, we know what Chris Davis means for you guys on the field. You know what he means for you guys off the field. And I'm just wondering if there's any particular story you can share from your time with him that maybe illustrates the Chris Davis you know behind the scenes that maybe we don't get to see.
Well, Chris does a lot of things. You know, those people are constantly doing things in the public eye so they can get credit for it. Chris, he likes to kind of mold into, kind of blend into the woodwork. He doesn't like any of the adulation. You know, obviously he tries to. He's got a new baby girl that's pretty special. He's bringing with him to the press conference. But you know, Chris comes in. I always know where to find him. He's in the video room, either watching video or kind of sitting on the couch in the dark, getting ready for the game. I mean, he's very routine. He has a pattern to things, and I try to give him the space. Each guy's different. Spring training, he knows what to expect from us. It's kind of tried and tested how he gets ready, and I think he knows that we trust him. But there's a lot of things he does behind the scenes that get back to me that nobody really hears about, that makes you kind of have a nice smile in a private moment.
Buck, what does this Davis signing mean to Mark Trumbo?
Well,
how does he play? Where does he play?
Nothing really, because I'm planning on everybody being in the flow. You know, Chris will take some days DHing, and Mark can play first base. Chris might take a few days in the outfield if so needed. If we get somebody hot, and Mark can play first and have somebody else take advantage of their skills at DH. You know, that's the thing about Chris's ability to play a lot of places. Obviously, he's going to play a lot of first base, and that's where his focus is. But, you know, Mark is going to get a quality chance to be our everyday DH, but move around a little bit. I want to keep him connected to the defense. He's a guy that cares about it. And, you know, I think we'll see that in the spring. I've had some good conversations with Mark.
Buck, let's turn to some other topics here surrounding the Orioles. The bullpen obviously has been very good for you for a long, long time since you've been here in Baltimore. Tell us a little bit about your thoughts on how deep you could make a bullpen if you can't come up with an extra starter. Would you go deeper and add another relief pitcher or two to compensate for maybe the lack of being able to acquire another starter?
Yeah, it's something that Dan and I discussed. I mean, there's, you know, the money it requires. Let's face it, guys, 5-year contracts for starting pitchers have been proven to be a pretty consistent graveyard. It just doesn't work. You're lucky to get 3. And that's what some of these clubs do. They pay 5 or 6 to get 3. And that's why the premium is on the June draft and the 5 to 6 picks that we're going to get in the first round. And we've got to hit on some of those Friday night pitchers like Kevin Gosman. And so you try to shorten the game as much as possible. But to sit here and think you're going to pitch 4 innings out of your bullpen every night, one of the keys is to having optional pieces in your bullpen where you can move guys in and out and keep pieces that need to be pitching one inning, not get overworked. So that the other guys that have to pitch multiple innings are guys that are movable pieces so you can keep everybody healthy. And that's something we've been very proud of, is the health of our bullpen.
Buck, you mentioned the perils of signing starting pitchers, those long contracts, like you said, the history of it.
I think Mike Messina might have been the one example of a 5-year contract that worked out.
Yeah, I mean, they are rare. So knowing that and assuming the unlikelihood that you guys would pull something like that off at this point, out of the guys you have coming back in that rotation, who are you pointing to and saying, hey, it's time for you to step up? You've seen it in spurts, obviously, over the last few years from several of those guys. Who are you looking to maybe take that step up and lead this staff now?
Well, I don't know if leading. I think everybody's a leader on the night they pitch. You know, I've talked and been with Chris Tillman 2 or 3 times all season, Miguel Gonzalez, of course, Gaz and Ubaldo, who may have had our most consistent year. And those guys have got to get back a little bit to their form, and they know that. I don't need to beat up on them about it. And I wouldn't sell a Mike Wright short. I really wouldn't. He came up and dazzled for a couple of outings, so to speak, and then kind of hit some first-year pitcher starter bumps in the road. You know, talking to Brady, he's been out there with Brady Anderson for about 2-3 weeks now. He is really on a mission to be that other starter. And, you know, that's where, like I said, that's where my focus is. And whether it's Tyler Wilson, I could name 3 or 4 other guys that people may not have heard of them that we're excited about where they are. And that mini camp was exciting for me because regardless of what happens in the rest of the offseason, to get somebody a starting pitcher, you're going to have to give up something that hurts a little bit. And, you know, we're going to look within first.
Buck, another couple of players that this deal affects is Christian Walker and Trey Mancini, two guys that played well in the minor leagues last year. Give us a scouting report on them, how close they are to the big leagues, and what's your thoughts on those guys?
Well, I like them both as hitters, and they both have improved defensively and are really engaged. They know what they need to work on, and they have the ability potentially to play other positions. And I think Chris's versatility allows us to continue to look at them as the potential to play first base. And, you know, we'll see where that takes us. Those things have a way of working themselves out. I mean, you do the job and you present yourself well enough, it only helps that player and helps the organization by whether them performing for you or making themselves so covetable by another club that you can get some of these people that you might be missing.
Buck, we appreciate your kindness being with us, the conversation and the information. Just a reminder, I know you're in Florida as you speak, but they're talking about a huge snowstorm this weekend in Baltimore. Just
I know. That's why we're trying to see if we can get Chris's blood work and all the stuff done so we can get it done Thursday night or Friday so nobody gets caught in it. But I'm at my mom's house where she passed, and we're cleaning out a lot of old memories. So I appreciate the break in the action.
All right, well, we talk to you soon, Buck. We appreciate you
All right,
being with
thanks
us.
for having me. Bye-bye.
Okay, Buck Showalter, the Orioles manager down in Florida. His mom passed, and he said there were some fantastic pictures that he was just looking at recently, you know, in being a kid, I guess, and, you know, being around his mom. Dave, when you look at this whole situation now with the Orioles, they took care of business with Chris Davis, but they still got some more business to take care of.
They do. I mean, clearly we're looking at right field. Clearly we're looking at a starting pitcher. To me, it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world if they went with Dario Alvarez. I mean, I'd have loved to see them play a little bit more in September, because at some point you do have to count on the guys that you sign. You sign an Alvarez, you sign an Urrutia, you sign these guys. Christian Walker, he gets to the AAA, he does his job. Trey Mancini, who will get to AAA, most likely start this year in AAA, unless he has a monster spring and they don't have other places. They don't have places filled, and he ends up sliding in somewhere. Okay, that's possible. I don't see that. But they have a piece. I mean, if the worst thing in the world is they go in right field and it's Dario Alvarez, or Nolan Rimo for that matter, or maybe is it as Steve Pearce? Is it a guy who they can get because Steve Pearce doesn't have a deal yet? Can they get him without giving him a multi-year deal where he holds that spot for a year or so? And if he can stay healthy, he can be productive. We've seen that. Even though he was hurt last year, when he hit still 15 home runs. I mean, the guy can hit the ball to the ballpark, got to stay healthy. To me, I'm telling you right now, Doug Fister's the guy they need to get. Doug Fister, my understanding is reported out there 2 years, $22 million-ish. That's a bargain as far as I'm concerned. I know he didn't have a great year last year, but to me, he wasn't Doug Fister, and to some extent, he was hurt a little bit. He was bounced back and forth between the rotation and the bullpen. To me, if Doug Fister would help this team immensely, especially this rotation.
Well, I think if I were running the Orioles right now, I would sign Steve Pearce and put him right field for the reason you said, Dave. 15 home runs in an injury-plagued season. This is where Steve Pearce established himself as a big leaguer. He and Buck Showalter get along great. He plays better than average defense. In my mind, I think there's plenty of offense on the team. A good right-handed bat with Steve Pearce in right field. That's the way I would go. And I agree with you on the pitcher, Fister.
Just a reminder, spring training's right around the corner for the Orioles and for all Major League Baseball teams. And during the month of March, MASN will be your box seat to the birds for coverage of Orioles baseball. In fact, there's 7 games on MASN coming up during the month of March. First one will be Tuesday, March the 8th. The Orioles taking on the Boston Red Sox. Then on the 10th against the Yankees, the 16th against Pittsburgh, Sunday the 20th against Tampa Bay, the 25th against the Yankees, Tuesday the 29th against the Braves, and then on Wednesday, March the 30th against the Detroit Tigers. Remember, the games that start at 1 o'clock, there will be replays starting at 7 or 8 o'clock that evening.